And so this is a continuation of the last one. So as I came to my conscious mind took repossessed my body, and I came settled down back down into my normal state of consciousness, and I felt the light leaving my body. Um, and I knew I had the deja vu, the feeling and knowing that I had just pushed my true self away because of my fear. I it was devastating, and I end up in tears, and I knew that the the feeling was this light and love. I could do anything, I could heal people, I could help people, I could help them experience what I experienced. By knowing myself truly and fully, I could help others also experience themselves and know themselves. And I could share that with them. If I could talk them through it, if I could, you know, access them in a certain way, then, I could be a catalyst for their growth. I could help them, experience their true selves and come to that self realization that I experienced, and they would know their love and their light and their true selves. And then, you know, the possibilities are endless. Um, it said we only use 10% of our brains. Well, we have all that latent potential, and why can't we make use of it? If we fully realized ourselves, who's to say that we couldn't perform miracles? Do things that for others would seem impossible. And so from there, I started studying spirituality more intensely, and religion, and I started to say, well, I was taught a certain way, uh, that the soul didn't exist separate from the body, that all spirituality and all these mysticism and magical practices of the world, they were just a matter of deceit. And coming to learn that that was a lie instead, that the mysticism and magical practices were actually based on reality, true eternal reality, and then this, teaching from uh, this certain form of Christianity was a lie and deceptive. And the only reason it's there is because people have no real spirituality. They don't know themselves. They've never had any experiences with themselves, their true selves. All they know is their ego. And, I'm not saying that this is particular to Seventh day Adventism. What I'm saying is this is the human condition, and that something needs to be done about it. Because if I can experience this love and light and be completely fulfilled without drugs, without, you know, material, without, you know, just any kind of other factor, other than just being myself, existing as I am, realizing my true self, being completely fulfilled, and knowing the truth, enlightenment, love, and being able to convey that to others has become my goal in life. I because there's no way that I can ever turn my back on that experience. It is me. It's defined who I am. And so where do I go from here? Well, I'm trying to help others understand how I got to be where I am, studying the world's religions and studying their philosophy and trying to make sense of it and saying, well, you know, the religious standard, don't listen to the outer shell of religion, listen to the spiritual soul where it originated. And I'm a person that, well, there's so many things that I have to convey. Um, but what I want to say is everyone has something to offer. Every culture has something to offer. We are all children of God, or gods, or whatever you want. You can describe God however you want. Different languages will call God different things. But basically, it's a all-in-penetrating, all-encompassing. What I believe in is panentheism. It's very similar to Hinduism in that respect, because panentheism says God is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent in everything, yet above and beyond it all. So that to a certain degree, our physical beings are manifestations of a spiritual complex, an intermeshed, a commingling of matter and antimatter, so to speak, but an energy complex is interpenetrating through our bodies. And just as we have genetic material that determines our outer features, so we have spiritual, internal, subtle material that determines our spiritual complex. And this leads to an understanding, and it's something called blood mysticism. It's been coined blood mysticism, and it's something that Orthodox Judaism ascribes to. It's basically their take on it is, unless you're a Jew, unless your mother's a Jew, full-blood Jew, then you can't be a Jew. You can't translate the Bible. It's not meant for you. And I agree with this to a certain degree. And the degree I agree with it to is that every group of people has a group soul, and certain things are meant for them, and they will more readily take to and use as tools to evolve themselves than other people. We're all different, and we should all draw on our native cultures. And I don't mean cultures that have been adopted through conquest. I mean everyone is different, and say I'm English, both sides of my family, and a little bit Scottish. So, Northern European culture, that's going to resonate more with me than Middle Eastern culture. Middle Eastern culture is for Middle Eastern people. African culture is for African people. And because we evolve as individuals within a group, our souls, uh, within a genetic group, within a spiritual group, is what I'm saying. We evolve together, uh, and we share certain similarities. And we should draw on our cultures, our native cultures, and try to understand them, because it's like Carl Gustav Jung's archetypes of the unconscious, subconscious. Um, there's these emotional, psychological, spiritual complexes within each individual that causes them to be a certain way and to think a certain way and to have a certain outlook on life. And it's because they share a certain soul, a certain kind of an egregor, um, and that is a spiritual complex that encompasses a group of people, and that they, like say, they have practiced spiritual practices in a certain way, certain pattern, and they've all put their energy into this particular uh, kind of wavelength or spiritual complex, and it responds to them in a certain way. Certain things work with you that won't work with me, and it's because of our different spiritual makeup. Just like we have different physical makeup, we also have different spiritual makeup, and psychologically things work for me that don't work for you, because we're different, and there's nothing wrong with that. But every culture has something to offer, and there's going to be a universal similarity. For instance, death and rebirth, um, being, having to die in order to go into heaven, because you have your ego. That is your ego. You have to die to yourself, your ego, in order to realize your true self, because your ego is just a conglomeration of the experiences that you've had in this life, and uh, and learned patterns, learned behavior, um, experience has taught you to respond to the outer world in a certain way, and your memories and the people around you have influenced you to a certain degree and caused you to become who you are, your ego to be who it is. But it's not your true self. It's not really who you are. It's just the outer shell. And whatever little bit of information of spiritual influence that's been uh, allowed to come through from your soul, the impressions that have allowed that your conscious mind has been allowed to uh, incorporate into your waking life. Um, this is this is who you are. This is who your ego is. Well, there's a whole nother world out there. There's a whole spiritual world and complex that people just have no concept of. There's things going on that you're unable to perceive because your ego is limiting, because it's singularly focused. Anyways, up against the time again.